Well, you did a great job on our toast today. So
I think I think that's a good
Did
start
you get a one-piece toast?
I did, but it came with 2 because it was an accident.
because of an accident.
Mm-hmm. Either that or they were trying to hook me up.
They're just giving away thousands of dollars every day in unordered toast.
Shout out to Thousands. It's our new brand, Thousands.
I like it.
We got a Disney trip on the books. Where should I go get coffee in Anaheim?
Specifically Anaheim?
Or just around. I went to that Hidden House place.
Yeah, I like
That
the
was
Santa
good.
Ana one a lot.
Yeah.
Where did I just
Is there
go?
anywhere else down there?
We went to that place where they're building the train tracks last time. When we
That
we
was-
took all the crew.
Yeah, that's I don't want to call him Severus.
Severus.
Severus Snape's place.
Voldemort and Severus.
Um,
Open a shop.
Spectrum
Hopper and Burr.
Sempra.
Hopper and Burr. Yeah, it was something.
I mean,
something,
you've
right?
been
Oh,
there.
yeah.
That's fun. I mean,
Does Truman still own that place?
he's got a speakeasy down there.
I would go to that.
He's got it. I forget what it's called, but I could find out for you.
Nice.
I feel like I had coffee.
Where's Steelhead from there?
Well, they're in Long Beach.
There,
That's
yeah.
a little bit out of the way unless he
All right.
decides to take the roundabout trip.
Steelhead's cool though. I'd go there. I
Yeah.
like their Container Store. That's the only one I've been to, so I don't know the other ones.
I mean, Colossus Bread too. That's their sister, not their sister, but their old homie and our old homie's place. That's all kind of like just over, closer to the coast. Anaheim proper.
Not
I'm
much.
blanking. Think so. Some yummy food, but yeah, all sorts of. I had some really good Mexican food when I was down there. I got it on DoorDash after the first place. Literally, they got there and they're like, "Did you already get your order?" And I'm like, "No, dude, it's late. I'm hungry." And they're like, "Says they gave it to somebody." And so I was like, got them to refund me and ordered from somewhere else, and it turned out to be baller. It was good. They had like ribeye tacos that were, yeah, it was good. Anyway,
Dude, I'm feeling
food.
it.
When are you
Food's
going?
good. Next
That's
month.
soon. Okay.
Yeah.
May?
Yeah,
You could put like Eleanor on
absolutely.
the drops.
For sure.
I'll
I'll put her on
Guardians
anything.
of the Galaxy. Dude.
If she's tall enough, which she's not, but I'll put her on.
No, it's just like accompanied by an adult.
She'll be pumped. That's not
Alright,
how it
have you
works
been
at all.
Guardians of the Galaxy. She's all.
Yeah, she's gonna be fully juiced, man.
Yeah, I think I can't remember right there in Anaheim what's going down or near there. I mean, there's definitely coffee in the Santa Ana area, but
Hit us up, Anaheim coffee folks.
Yeah, dude.
hit
what's
up George. Hit him. Yeah.
His phone number is 555
555-5555.
345
Area code
01.
555.
6789.
Dude, I can't wait.
Remember that one time you did an Instagram post with my address on it?
What?
Yeah, do you remember that?
No.
Oh, very quick.
We were like shipping. Maybe it was way back in the day. Like maybe when we were doing stuff out of Santa Barbara, and you did a post of like a box going out, but it had like my home personal address.
I think it was in the video though. It wasn't like full on just the post. It was like, but in the process, you're all, yo, that had my address on it.
Oh, whoops. Got to get rid of that one.
Yeah, you switched it out real quick.
People are sending stuff. Dude, did you hear that White Ivy's back?
Yeah, dude.
No.
When
Tell
I
me
started
more.
balling, I was young.
So Jared has an old White Ivy email address
I
because
do
he is
remember
White
that.
Iverson,
Yes,
right? And it was on
Before
something to do
post.
with Shopify or ShipStation
Yeah,
when
yeah.
we first opened. So
Yeah.
when all the subscriptions went out, even though we had already created Cat and Cloud email addresses, people would get their invoice in the box and it would say, you know, Cat and Cloud, 3600 Portola. And then the email was White Ivy, like at hotmail.com or whatever. And
the real
we
one.
got a real business here, I promise.
yeah. So my back in the day, Thad, my brother-in-law, was like, "What is this White Ivy?" And I was like, "Oh, I don't even know. I never even looked." I was like, "Oh yeah, it's Jared's. It's snuck in
Origin
there."
story.
So we fixed White Ivy. 2 weeks ago, he sends me a text with a screenshot. It's, White Ivy is back, and somehow White Ivy worked its way back into being the from email for all of our
no.
subscription.
I wonder how that happened.
jeez.
It must be something with recharge.
Mm-hmm.
So we have everything in Shopify and ShipStation is one thing, but Recharge is like this third-party plugin app. So sometimes one of the most annoying things about web and web plugins is any one of the plugins we use, which we use a few of them, they'll just update their whole thing, and then we have to go in and make sure that that's communicating well with the other apps and Shopify, and sometimes it's easy and sometimes it just doesn't want to do anything, and it's just obnoxious. So that's probably Recharge
Like
probably
reset.
updated something. So now all of this
Dude, it's like Shopify, get your shit together. Just provide.
they have it. We just
no,
don't want to pay for it.
No, just provide like a subscription. Like that's why we use Recharge, because Shopify doesn't provide like a subscription.
They must have one now,
processing
right?
app.
They must have one now.
We gotta look at. I mean,
I feel like
Come
Shopify
on.
has a lot of things, but every time we try to go to the next level, it's just such a big jump. You know, it's thousands of dollars.
It's just
And we're like,
the
no.
return.
Thousands. I need to do this, Chuck. How much is it going to be? It's just everything's thousands of dollars.
That's probably true. That's actually probably
Everything
true
is
at this
thousands
point.
of dollars.
Money's no option. It's at least thousands.
It's at least thousands.
Couples.
money buys nothing.
Yeah. But yeah, White Ivy's back, everybody.
Yeah, I like it.
That's fair, man.
Then Jared a couple
I didn't know if we
emails.
were getting some jerseys
See it
printed.
pop
or
up.
That'd be great.
something.
We should get some sick jersey. But there's so many jersey options out there. Didn't
Yeah.
Weiser start working on jerseys?
I don't know if
He
he
thought
started
about
doing
it.
jerseys. I think that was more of an idea.
Yeah, maybe he didn't actually do it. He was throwing out concepts.
That'd be
Pretty heavy merch stack coming out though.
People would definitely buy basketball jerseys from us. 'Cause
Five
Be any
people.
kind of
they always
jersey.
offer to buy the ones that we had for City League. And
Should I? That one you gave me, maybe I should put it on eBay. See what it gets.
Yeah.
we get you some
I'm
something.
all-
original
let's-
white ivy.
Let's get it into thousands of dollar range, guys.
Can you?
This is
Can
a
you?
collectible.
No, it's a
It's
collectible.
literally the only one that you can get. That's not.
Game worn.
That's not claimed. You know what I
It
mean?
might be game worn.
Maybe not.
I don't know if it was game worn.
No, I
It
think
might
it's
not be.
brand new.
I think I think that was just for Chris.
Feels like a brand new one.
So you could
Signed by
also
white
have one
ivy.
just
Somebody
sitting on a
thinks
gold
it's
mine.
like
Yeah,
Iverson.
yeah. I'll have Jared sign it for you.
Except for he's never ever gone by white ivy. Iverson has never pulled that off in any sort of way. But yeah, they'll probably think it's Post Malone. I'm like, yeah, dude. For sure. We're like, no, dude, this is pre Post Malone. I helped him, dude.
Super down.
I let him have it.
All the coffee's good for SCA. Been tasting them.
Yeah, Pablo Chacon. I got Pablo.
Definitely not.
Pablo Chacon.
No. What is it Chacon? Pablo Chacon? It is Pablo Chacon. I'm not tripping, right?
Yeah.
Okay, that was
No,
weird.
not Pablo though.
That's what I'm saying. What's the first name? That threw me off, and now I'm like super out of it. Anyway,
He's just gonna start listing Latin names.
that
He's all.
coffee I have to taste today, and we may
It's
roast
Pablo,
one more round of that. But everything else is tasting fantastic. Why am I blink? I couldn't. I've set myself
now you
off on that
blacked
one.
me
See,
out.
told you. Well, whatever, man. Anyway, we'll taste that one more time.
Francisco.
Francisco Chacon. That's right. That's
There we
better.
I didn't want to make a claim.
Yeah.
Oh, dude, check this out. You guys ready to get into the age-old question
Depends on sure, man.
from our homie Zach Bachmeyer?
Oh yeah, for sure.
Sent me a text yesterday, which I of course didn't reply to. Super random, but I was reading about washed, semi-washed, and natural drying process this morning.
Mm.
What method do you prefer and why? It's a big question. That's why I couldn't really text him back. So I
Not a
don't,
one-line answer.
yeah. I don't know if anybody's got any favorites.
I mean, yeah.
I like them for different reasons.
Yeah.
Right? I like them all, but each. That's my non-answer.
That's your non-answer answer.
I'll just say it. I'm washed for sure, 1,000%.
Yeah, I would say
1,000,000%.
90% of the time I favor washed coffees. But I can't tell if that's because naturals go bad so quickly.
Right, because a really, really good natural is really, really nice.
And it's really, really rare.
Yeah.
And you know what I mean? It's
Yeah, I mean they're good, really, really good.
the funny thing
But
about
they're also sort of the same when you get the really, really good ones.
False.
Not false.
Definitely
false at
There's
all.
There's
always kind of the same
whole
kind of fruit.
Taste the rainbow.
I
My
know,
friend.
but they're all still kind of. You still go into that route where it's like the best ones, like your Los Lajones Natural, is like a specific version of it, but it's still kind of the same.
I mean, for you,
That's what I'm
That's
saying.
just what
That's why
you
it's my
like,
opinion
right?
about him.
so you're saying that the processing method dominates like the variety and the other terroir of the coffee.
And there is some like nuance to that processing portion of it, I think, that makes them extra good. Like it can be more mango-y. But I mean, even like the green tip naturals to me, like they're still kind of all living in that, like, in fact, to that point, in my opinion, it's just the green tip natural feels very similar to that Los Lajones natural in flavor, but even though they're slightly different, like it just kind of all fits in this box more specifically. I think you get way more nuance out of washed coffees.
Those two
You just gotta
coffees.
think outside the box. Sure.
Those two
Dude, I
coffees
am.
are interesting.
I've been doing this for a long time, Chuck.
Because so Los Lajones. So those are both geisha,
They are both from,
and I'll say 95, but I'm like basically 100% sure that the Los Lajones is a transplant from somewhere in
Panama.
Boquete.
Yeah, it was.
So
I'm
they're
almost
like
sure, too.
basically the same plants.
Just different.
Same, so they
Terroir.
grew in different soil,
Yeah.
but it's like same varietal and even same like literal fucking like they're in the family.
Genome.
Yeah,
Yeah.
they're in that zone,
Which I understand would give you like that's why they taste closer together
right.
in flavor, sure. Ish, depending the processing style and like how well they did.
Sure. I mean, yeah.
But I mean, that'd just be like cool. Like all fruit tastes the same.
No, it
Is
doesn't.
like what
because
you're
it's still
saying.
coffee.
If you're natural, but the natural, it's like, dude, all Skittles taste the same. Is what
Nope,
you're saying.
That's not working at all.
Yeah,
Tell me
because-
this. Do all peaches taste like peaches?
Do all naturals? They're all different types of fruit,
But they're not. They're all coffee.
but the terroir and how it's processed can lead to like how we taste it as different types of fruit, just in the same way that Skittles, right? It's like the whole rainbow of flavors.
Yeah.
Naturals can produce a whole rainbow of different flavors. They don't all taste.
I agree with.
That's all.
Most-
That's
some
all.
of that.
That's all I'm saying.
Yeah, I agree with some of that, but it's still coffee cherry. So that's where I go, where it's like they
Yeah, well, it's all coffee.
But all
cherries.
the washed coffees are also just coffee cherry.
agreed.
Right.
But I think the washed allows you to taste more nuance and more
Right, well, and
excitement.
then that's what I enjoy in
Yeah.
the washed is the
Yeah.
like an actual wash that has a lot of complexity to it,
Mhm.
that has like layered complexity. Like that's what I really enjoy
Yeah.
in washed coffee.
Totally, I agree. Yeah, I think that's why washed are for you're able to find more complexity and clarity in them most of the time, and then the really good naturals they're really fun and delicious and unique. But still, if you were to line up all the naturals, I don't know. I mean, I think you can find washed coffees that get more in the fruity range than you would find naturals that get into the clean range. If you were, for me,
I mean, natural processing is just more of a dice roll for most
yeah,
people. And I think that's why generally I prefer washed, because natural can go wrong so easily.
seems like it.
A lot of the coffees, actually, here's my big beef with naturals. My big beef with naturals is just people are stupid. So naturals are this great thing where people love and I love this too. So I once was like you, where I remember being at Stumptown, doing cuppings at the Annex, and you've got all these nice, really clean washed coffees, and then you got some naturally processed Sidamo or something. And if you've never
Right.
smelled or tasted anything like that, it just jumps off the table,
Like
and it's
kimchi.
immediately identifiable. You're
Sure.
like, oh, that tastes like, or that smells like blueberry pie, or that smells like some kind of Pop-Tart or something. It's just really fruity.
Yeah.
It's really sweet, and you're tasting not so much the nuance of the coffee, but you're kind of tasting a lot of the processing, the byproducts
definitely
of the
tasting something.
processing method.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And I think there's these trends in coffee where naturals will catch fire. Now it's, anaerobics probably the thing, but something will start to trend because it pops out in a certain way, and then it's really easy to pass off crappier versions of that
While
as
trend is hot.
good. While the trend is hot, because at a base level, most people are just tasting that one base thing,
Sure.
whether that's, oh, it tastes like fruit, it tastes like pie, it tastes like blueberries. That's it. And we've been to cuppings where there's like the gnarliest, dirtiest, naturally processed coffee in a room full of people, and people
Yeah.
are just like,
They score
this one's
super high.
awesome, this one's the best. And it's like, I get what you're saying. It's not the best.
Mhm.
It's just really fruity, and maybe that's kind of new for you,
Sure.
and you like it a lot.
Mhm.
So that's where my beef with the naturals are. It's just like, pull the wool over your eyes. It tastes like fruit, and people are buying just shitty ass naturals, and I can't I can't hang, you know what I mean? And the same thing's happening right now with anaerobic. People are like, try this anaerobic coffee. And I'm just like, dude, this tastes like garbage. Like, you can't just throw shit in a bucket, seal it up for 3 days and say like, this is what's hot. It's like, dude, it's not good. Like, it's not good. There has to be some objective measurement of quality here that's not just, this is interesting. And if it is interesting, that's fine. But let's just talk about how interesting it is and not say that it's delicate or nuanced or layered or complex or anything. It's just, beat me over the head with this thing and then leave me to die. Like, that's what it is. It's fun.
Yeah, I mean, I wonder if there's different ways of brewing these coffees that would make them a different experience, you know, like going outside of our generalized SCA stuff and see what happens. But that's going to be a whole nother world. And you maybe make them taste more nuanced, maybe not. Maybe more of something or less of something else.
Well, I remember back in the day with some of those naturals, I would intentionally under extract them.
For sure.
Because
like quick extraction.
Quick extraction. Even in things like pour overs, it'd updose it and just kind of hold the water back, because then you would get the end wasn't balanced, but you're able to extract all of that fruity tropical goodness,
the clean part.
And you leave some of that funk behind because you don't get anywhere near over extraction. So you get a cup that's wildly unbalanced. It's very alive, it's very bright, it's very juicy. It's definitely an experience, but with no funk. So, and some people will be like, dude, this isn't balanced. I'm like, yeah, you're right, it's not.
But it's the best.
Intentionally so.
It's clean, juicy coffee.
Yeah, it's like this sweet, delicious
like
thing.
Betalita,
and I don't
back in the day.
Yeah. And that was cool. I like that. So there is some stuff to play with. I mean, you can't turn shit into sunshine, but you can maneuver through what's happening.
I think for me, it's still, the problem is that it's almost 90% of the time it's going to be blueberry or strawberry. It's not the other fun stuff. And that's, I think, why I have more of an issue with naturals. There's the few awesome ones where you're like, that is more mango-y or something that's like unique to it, but I think that's my problem with it, is almost always it's going to be, that's your grape or that's your strawberry blackberry thing, and that doesn't lead to a lot of complexity to me when that's going to be the overarching flavor.
But then that's like the magic, is to like find.
Totally.
Right. That's what makes it special.
Yeah. Which is just, if I have to answer, that's why washed isn't going to be that, because I believe you're going to find more interesting things if you're able to, like, all variables the same, you're going to find more interesting thing in wash coffees. For me. That was the question?
Yeah.
I mean, preference, I guess. That's, you also have to think about what you're drinking all the time.
I mean, you can give the shout out to the natural as like converting, pre-specialty guests, over to like specialty and
I'm not a natural hater at all, and I think I've had some really interesting naturals that are complex. I remember way back in the day, Stumptown did no, that wasn't it. Anyway, there's been a few that are really, really good.
Well, I think Honey's are a place where you could get a lot of this stuff done well. If you still have to do a lot of work on it, and I think they take more. I mean, that's what they're trying to do with anaerobic stuff too. But I think you might be able to find some middle grounds where you get a little bit of this, that, and the other. It's all a lot of focus.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm totally down with the naturals, but if he's going to ask me what's my preference and why, that's my preference and why.
So you're claiming wash because more complexity, nuanced flavors.
I think so.
Yeah.
For me,
it's really kind of that pick your poison thing. It's always interesting to see what people coming from not coffee want to latch onto as these primary identifiers. So Zach's a trained sommelier.
Right.
So in wine, they're going with, what's the primary? Like variety.
Sure.
Or
yeah.
Whether
variety,
it's like a Syrah or a Pinot or Zinfandel, like the type of grape is the primary. And for us, that's not it. It's more region specific. We don't lead with Pacamara or Bourbon.
It would be awesome
or
if we could get
Catuai.
there. That would probably help to what you're talking for me, Chuck, is like if it was variety specific first, then you could have some form of comparison. Like, this is Pacamara from all these different regions. That would get gangster. Harder to do, though, because it doesn't always grow.
Well, I mean, it'll grow if we
Make
make it grow, right?
I think, well, yeah, and I guess there's legalities to planting these things other places too. I think, but sometimes coffees don't do as well from what I'm hearing.
sure.
And, you know, like different climates they just don't work for whatever reason.
Right. You wouldn't have to transplant anything. I'm just saying as a culture, we would generally lead with this coffee, you know, is from a region in Guatemala.
Right,
Not
got
this coffee is Bourbon.
Yep.
Or this coffee is Catoyer.
For sure.
And the wine people approach it from the opposite end, where they're kind of leading with, this is Zinfandel from Santa Cruz Mountains or from Napa. So it's always interesting to see how people see. And then there's all these other things like the processing method.
Skin on, skin off.
But,
master.
but like I will say, we have a kind of like a great example of that coming up next year, where this year was the first harvest for like the Rosalillo family that we work with in Guatemala, where we helped them plant some Java seeds.
Oh, wow.
Like 4 years ago, and this is the first harvest. So this is an example
That'll
of
be
like
fun.
cool tasting Java across origins, and I think Java is something that has like characteristics that you can taste across origins.
That
for
would
sure.
probably be super interesting. Yeah,
Yeah,
that's a
Dulce,
really fruity, fruit
Dulce
forward
said when she
Java.
was down there, said it was pretty awesome.
Yeah, what's the story with Java? Give the Java history.
Then straight into Mundo Novo next, please. And after that, some quick Marco Hipes.
Dude, my Java history is I just really enjoy it as a coffee. Well, I've had it, we've had Colombian Java
let's see.
before. And yeah, I just, again, find it as one of those varieties that's really lends itself to like a washed complexity in the cup. Because I'm not too far from Jared, where it's like, dude, I like probably the coffees that I really enjoy are really complex, layered, where you can really get the layered flavors that are inherent in a washed coffee, where you're not using the process to kind of inherently create new flavors or to bolster what's there. It's like I'm not too far from Jared, and that being really what my favorite coffee is.
Yeah.
According to this, just some things that are neat is that Java is a high quality Central American variety that's tolerant to major diseases, and it requires low fertilizer.
Yeah, I think those are a few of the reasons that Luis Pedro, that was something that he was kind of recommending, because we were talking, kind of doing it in concert with him as like what would work well for like the Rosalillo family.
It works well at high altitudes, mid to high, and it's pretty close to it's tolerant to leaf rust, which is great.
Yeah, and still has a cup quality. It's really nice.
And same with coffee berry disease. Cool. Yeah. About a 3-year production. Interesting stuff, guys.
I don't think we've ever had any, have we?
We might have one.
Yeah, we had one from Colombia a couple years ago.
Yeah,
but
right. It was in one of those like three different unique coffees
of like kind of unique
right.
varieties.
Yeah, I remember that.
It was yummy.
So it was like some Cedra, some Java.
Yeah,
I think the Java was the most interesting. The Tecasic,
Tecasic, which I really like, but it was just really expensive.
Yeah,
and yeah,
we didn't have our storytelling up to par then either. We were just kind of letting it flounder.
Yeah, I mean it's an Ethiopian variety, and I mean that's the rest of it's a long historical shenanigans that I don't think people are necessarily super interested in, but totally Ethiopian, the Dutch, 19th century guys, you know. Yeah. Brought by Cameroon, a local farmer from the Villamorin company.
Villamorin?
Yeah,
trade
acquired
into
its seeds in Java from Porteres, a famous breeder, and then they brought it.
Famous breeder.
So on and so forth. Yeah. 1980 to 1990. Released, blah, 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 so on and so forth.
So that
Java.
We'll wrap up Zach's question. We'll say that the closer you are to a wash process coffee, the more control you have over the processing, the more likely you are to be able to experience every single thing that particular coffee has to offer. And then when you walk down that slope of going through the various types of honey processing all the way down to natural processing, you're by default going to be tasting more of the flavors that the processing injects into the coffee. So
yeah, and I think for me what it makes that loud too is that you can't as easily taste what people did to impart whatever in the roast process with naturals. That's, I think, what's tough for me is like you can kind of taste if it's out of its best balance, but because of the processing, you're not necessarily able to go, at least for me, and you could argue me if you want, if you listen to the podcast, but with wash coffee, I can more clearly decide what we'd like to pull out of it and find my way there. And I can do that with a natural, but it's almost more so always in the context of balancing out that flavor with everything else and whatever imparted changes to the inherent acidity and body and things that are coming because of that process. Like that's what you're managing. You're not necessarily as much, in my opinion, crafting the experience in the roast in terms of the flavors that you can. I mean, you can argue that that's wrong because it's the same concept either way, but I think one thing is overshadowed.
Well,
I hear what you're saying.
I would say that, yeah, just to what I was talking about earlier, it's like the more you have the injection of the processing method, the more the byproducts of the processing method dominate the flavor of the coffee.
Sure.
It's
Yeah.
at the expense of something else.
Right.
So if you're thinking about it as an equalizer on an amplifier, if you're
It's all up.
if you're
from there.
cranking all these things up, there's just like there's not a lot of room there to hear this
Yeah.
balanced sound. You
Yeah.
know what I mean? It's
Mhm.
almost, or that could be an analogy, or it's just like. You go ahead.
I mean, just
yeah,
think
yeah.
of like a natural Kenyan, and like all the
Yeah, I've only had like two.
I think there's probably a reason. Like I'd say there's a reason we don't have a lot. Is like there's so much complexity in a washed Kenyan coffee that you can do
Totally.
exactly like what you're saying within a roast
Yeah.
and create it to what you'd be. Whereas like just this cloud of processing would be, I don't know, like impeding that work.
Mhm.
Yeah.
If you had like a really naturally processed
Totally.
On
coffee.
a cupping table, it would be much easier to pick out different varieties and different regions of washed coffees than it would be on a table of naturals. Like
For
if you were
sure.
cupping a
Yeah.
table
That's
of
the
washed
thing, too.
coffees,
Yeah.
you'd be like, oh, that's Pacamara for sure. Oh,
Mhm.
this coffee's from Kenya for sure. This tastes like this is from Antigua maybe,
Yeah, this is the Java from Antigua. This
Right.
is the Bourbon from Antigua.
That wouldn't
For
be
sure.
Yeah.
terribly difficult. But if you had that same situation with all naturally processed coffees, like you said, there'd be this cloud of natural wrapping around the
Yeah.
whole thing. So where you're
Yeah.
like, it tastes like some sort of dried fruit.
Yeah.
And then
What's behind all that?
Maybe it's Catuai. Maybe it's from Panama. With the
Yeah.
exception of sometimes geisha you can pop out. It has a specific
Totally.
taste.
Yeah.
Or at least the stuff from Panama that's
I think
like the
geishas
native
generally
shit,
do have
you know?
there is some sort of like flavor you pick up after years of experience. You're like, that's something's unique about that coffee that's really good. And usually it's like, oh, that was geisha. That's why,
yeah. And I think for me specifically, more the geishas of the past had it. And I think that's because you're getting, the first geishas that I ever had were, of course, the stuff from Panama.
Esmeralda's.
Yeah, Hacienda Esmeralda, and then some of the stuff from Alita. They're all in that same area, and now it's been transplanted everywhere. Everybody's growing it. So where it used to be this beacon of quality and specialty experience, now it feels to me like there's still a premium on the price, but a lot of the coffees are kind of watered down to where it doesn't really taste that special at all. Because who knows? It might be a super young plant in some region where it doesn't really want to grow, and it doesn't offer that same je ne sais quoi, so to
Whoa.
speak. Oh.
We're a little bilingual on
I'm
this in
super
case you guys
French, dude.
wanted.
Is that French?
We'll put it in the subtitles for you.
Yeah, we can translate this.
Don't worry about it. Google.
Set your browser to close captioned.
Google, yeah. Hey Google. Hey Google. Hey Google. I mean, Zach, great question. I think you could technically, and I'm sure this is what anaerobic wants to be, but you could find your way to some sort of cleaner middle ground with something like an anaerobic too. But and we've seen it in some
you'd still be in
capacities.
the spectrum between honey and
Yeah, it's still like
however far you own it to bourbon barrel. Is
bourbon
that-
barreled. Yeah, dude, with a little bourbon
Really
barrel, with a
looking
little
forward
cinnamon.
to bringing in a nice Kenyan
Yeah,
bourbon
dude,
barrel.
bourbon barrel aged Kenya. Cask oak.
Cinnamon, dude.
Can you guys taste the unique? Yeah.
Sprinkle some cinnamon in it.
Oh, they've done it.
I know. I
please
saw it.
don't.
I was just like, fuck, dude. It made me so mad
And then you drank it and you're like, it's my new
I was like,
favorite.
oh, this
Orange
tastes like
mocha frappuccino.
tastes like a
Dude,
morning
dude,
drive in Sausalito.
Dude,
Sun's coming up over the hill. Maybe I'll hit the freaking Golden Gate and do some like Danny Tanner vibe stuff. I
You
don't
were.
know.
Guaranteed. I mean, I'm drinking our Go Arcone right now, and I'm pretty happy with where it's going. And
Nice.
it's, real nice nuances in this coffee.
It is interesting to see now more so than ever before because the world's just gotten smaller. The connectivity's higher. There's more people connecting with producers, and it's more easy to do that. To see the impacts of the market on how people are processing coffee. To where it's 10 years ago there was baristas really loved naturals. And there was this big push for a lot of producers to do natural because like that's what's going to sell in the States. Like that's what people want to drink. So people are switching over production. And now like as soon as this anaerobic craze hit, you see it just everywhere. And I have to imagine it's because of that faster feedback. It's like, hey, the market's going anaerobic. We got to get some of that going. Do you think that's a fair
I think it is. Hopefully we've seen the peak of I'm curious if we've seen the peak of anaerobic and it's coming back down the side of people experiencing it, and I think a lot of people, like myself included, being like,
yeah.
I think the whispers on
and
like
it's
used
kind
to
of
that
coming
are
back
like,
down.
yeah,
That's how I feel. But then I'm just saying, like in terms of how trends are created and producers being not pressured's the right word, but getting that quicker market feedback. Like, what's the next thing? We've got natural, we've got anaerobic. What's next?
I mean, it's sad. It's like I almost say just look to wine, right? All these things have already been done in wine.
Oh, where we got the natural wine thing,
right?
and
I mean,
different kinds of skin contact.
In a lot of the science talks, it's like, can different types of yeast or different types of bacteria influence
I think that's
what
interesting.
people are trying to bring out in the coffee in the same way they do that with wine in different places around the world. So I could see that being like the next, I'm going to throw something out there, right?
Yeah.
I mean, I've seen some I've had one or two tasty coffees with some sort of yeast fermentation addition to it. But again, all this stuff just requires a lot of focus and intention. And I think maybe that's part of the issue is the coffee industry is asking producers to like do something that's like outside of their scope anyway.
Is that I for
They've
sure
never really-
wouldn't feel comfortable asking, right? You're risking their
Right. Like you
their
have to
entire
whole
livelihood.
right? It's like they've been
Right.
using a certain yeast in their coffee, and then somebody from the outside that doesn't know their crop at
Yeah.
all is going to come in and
totally.
be like, we want you to try this specific yeast that may just fuck up everything that they're
Yeah.
doing.
Yeah.
Yeah. You have to, there's R&D and all this stuff. And then there's
Yeah.
got to be tests, and that's what R&D is. But like, you have to like,
Thousands of
you have
tests,
to
you would say?
thousands of you just have to
How
actually,
much will it cost? It's going to cost thousands to
like
do this
how much
test.
can they actually progress year after year, right? If you're only doing maybe 2 or 3 pickings on average,
Yeah.
Well, I think
then
it's
it's
just
like you have that many chances to try something should you decide to,
Right.
and get whatever feedback it is. And again, that's all just based on that year.
and if you don't have a brand, it's even sketchier. So, some
Absolutely.
So like,
some producers have a brand,
like
right?
like I think of like Juan Pena.
Sure,
right?
Juan Pena.
It's like he's got the
Wilfred
resources in the lab
Lamastis,
to
Right.
do the research and to like little by little try different things.
Right.
But
or the
even more
governments,
than
maybe,
that,
some of them.
Yeah.
even if he makes some coffee that ends up being incredibly terrible, someone's going to buy it. You
Because
know what I
of
mean?
his name and brand.
Because he's
Correct.
Juan Pena, yeah.
Correct.
And so there's a little bit of a safety net in that.
Yeah.
You know, I'm sure Wilford could sell whatever he wants to. You know, Ben Hameen could do whatever and probably still sell coffee. But if you're just breaking into this specialty market and want to try these things out, and you're just a multi-generational, I've been farming this thing forever, and
No, that
it's
costs them a ton
super
of money.
risky.
Mhm.
Yeah.
It's not worth it.
It's hard, you know?
Totally. I mean, a lot of them aren't even comfortable moving into specialty. They want to, but they don't have anything to really bank on in terms of, is it going to pay off? Because it already costs them a lot of money to jump into specialty.
Yeah, and there's way more coffee
Way more risk.
than there are specialty coffee by like the capacity for specialty coffee can buy
Mhm.
way less than obviously.
Yeah.
the amount of coffee out
Right.
there, which is
To
why
where-
Pete's and Starbucks play such a integral role in buying those like mid to lower 80-point coffees.
Which I could see how that just feels like a nice, safe bet.
Yeah.
Like, hey,
Totally.
I know someone's going to buy this.
Mhm.
Like, this is what it is.
Right. And I don't have to wait for it to all be peak and perfect and then hire all these pickers to make sure it all comes off at the same time. I can just kind of go out there and collect and collect and collect.
Yeah, it's a really interesting ecosystem we live in.
Yeah, because like you talk about, Jared, like when I was working in Ethiopia, that just the Starbucks and Pete's did help producers go from commercial to that lower end of specialty.
Right.
Like that
a big
was
jump.
changing people's lives because Pete's and Starbucks bought so much coffee, and producers could go from conventional to Pete's and Starbucks, and that was a really significant like price increase for them, right? And
what is the differential
at
there?
Volume.
What do you think that's, coming
What,
from
commercial?
commodity grade to like the lower end of specialty? What's the
Well,
number
I know
difference?
that like we had data in the program showing it was like their incomes were up like 100%.
Thousands
They're
of
double
dollars.
that.
Thousands.
So I mean, doubling incomes going
That's pretty
from
awesome. It's
pretty
commercial
significant.
to like maybe the higher end of quality that Pete's and Starbucks. And
What
Pete's
was
was
that?
a little bit higher than Starbucks.
What was that requiring for them, infrastructure wise or quality wise? Like, what are they changing? I'm sure it's different for everybody, but like one or two examples.
Yeah, I mean, so it's going from much bigger focus on processing,
Mm.
right? Like just getting into that specialty layer means, right, you need the higher quality depulper, you need the higher quality systems around washing mainly. That was part of what the program did was helping finance those kinds of costs and things, but there's still risk in that. Like, there were tons of co-ops that succeeded and in huge ways, but there were also a few that didn't make it, right? It's like there is risk in taking on any kind of debt and financing, right?
Right, because it's not like Pete's or Starbucks is just gifting them with
No.
these pieces of equipment. They're like, hey, we'll loan you the money, you got to buy this, and then it gets paid out through the coffee over time. Or...
Yeah, and just for transparency, Pete's and Starbucks were purely coming in as the buyers. So TechnoServe worked with other coffee exporting, importing entities who would provide the financing for the machines.
right.
Because they really believed in the program, right? And they were just wanting to get repaid for providing the money up front for like all these what is it, pinhales? I'm gonna butcher the name, but it's the pin.
I don't know that one. That's not ringing a bell.
It's the washing.
Penagos.
Penagos. Yeah,
from Brazil.
Yes,
Yeah.
Penagos.
Yeah, so those were like the machines,
The
and
Penagos
so
machines.
putting the money up front for those machines, and then there was agronomic support and processing support from TechnoServe to help them, learn and continue that washing process over time to where the quality would be brought up into like the low to mid 80s.
Right. I'm hearing like investment and consistency, right?
Yeah.
With the washing and all the processing portions. So it's like, okay, we can bank on consistency. We'll be the buyers. TechnoServe is a nonprofit, right? So they're helping, and then they're working with those
Are they
exporters, and the
Right.
exporters are going to make their money back by securing all that coffee to sell to. Right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
That was my next question. Are they connecting the dots once that quality infrastructure card starts to go in? So let's say you're a producer.
TechnoServe?
Yeah.
Yeah, that was their whole mission, was improving quality and quantity, and then connecting producers who were previously underserved and kind of being taken advantage of within the system to specialty buyers in the US and Europe.
Hell
And-
yeah, dude.
and- Yeah, and they did a great job.
What was the place the TechnoServe worked with? It started with it was in, I think, Kenya. It started with a D that was pretty famous for a long while.
Oh, well, I mean, in Ethiopia, it's like Duramina.
Oh, that was it. Well, Duramina. No, there's another one I feel like.
Nanachala.
No, okay. Yep. Did they work in Kenya too or no?
So TechnoServe did work in Kenya, but it was a much smaller program, and
Got
I
it.
wasn't as familiar with.
Cool. Yeah,
Just
yeah.
because Kenya has its own system
Different-
that
yeah.
is
Like a different branch.
super gnarly.
Cool.
Right, through the marketing firm.
Duramina.
The Duramina,
I didn't know
Nanachala,
Nanachala was one. Got it.
Ukro.
Mm,
A lot of like
Ukro, dude.
early Stumptown.
Madcap represent with Ukro,
Yeah,
dude.
yeah.
I remember
and
that.
Stumptown, Madcap.
Right. We at Verve got the Duramina a lot. And it's Stumptown Duramina first, though, I think, right? Cool.
Yeah.
Yummy coffees.
Yeah, just to throw back into that.
Cool, man.
Yeah, well,
That's
I
a good-
forgot how we
That's a good history
how we
lesson.
got,
No,
yeah,
I
how we
feel-
got into
That's
that.
great. That's a good place to get into our meeting with.
Totally, guys.
Thanks for the question, Zach.
Hey everyone, that's the podcast for the week. Thanks so much for listening. If you heard something that inspired you, let us know or tell a friend. These are the types of connections that are the most important to us and that we seek to create every day. If there's something you heard and you want to know more about, send us an email to podcast@catandcloud.com or head to our website, catandcloud.com/podcast, and let us know. While you're on our site, check out everything we have to offer. Dive deep into one of our single origin coffees or pick up a little treat for yourself. We have something for everyone, so check it out. Also, find us in the usual places, YouTube, Instagram. We're always there sharing amazing things. All right, that's it. Thanks everyone for being awesome. We'll be back next week.